Have you ever watched your own backyard get declared illegal by a smiling neighbor who swears she's only protecting the children? What if the woman who once called you the bitter loner who hates fun suddenly decided your private hill belonged to her clipboard? And how sweet does it taste when her perfect little kingdom of fake rules collapses the second someone finally says no? Ethan Brooks had learned the hard way that moving to Evergreen Grove, Pennsylvania, meant trading peace for perpetual judgment. 3 years earlier, fresh off a quiet divorce, he'd bought 12 acres of rolling hills just outside the subdivision. His land, his deed, his business. The HOA had welcomed him with a potluck and a stack of bylaws thicker than the Bible. Karen Voss, the eternally pearl-clutching president, had cornered him that night with her honey-dripped voice. "Ethan, darling, we simply adore new faces, but skipping the welcome committee potluck does send a message, doesn't it? We wouldn't want the neighbors thinking you're anti-community." The rumor mill spun overnight. Bitter divorcee, probably unstable, definitely hates kids. He let it slide, kept his mouth shut, to code. Watched the world from his porch like a man who'd already lost enough battles. Until the certified letter arrived on a crisp February morning. It sat on his kitchen counter like a landmine, embossed with the Metrobrook HOA seal. Ethan read it twice, coffee going cold in his hand. Effective immediately, all sledding on community hillsides is prohibited due to liability and aesthetic concerns. Community hillsides. Slope right behind his house, the one the neighborhood kids had turned into their personal Winter Olympics every snowfall, didn't belong to the HOA. It belonged to him. Search the whole 9 yards. His lawyer, Marcus, had made damn sure of that when Ethan closed on the property. But the access road, the only way in or out for 85 homes, cut straight across his back 40 via an old 1960s easement. Conditional easement, good faith relations required. Written in lipstick and delusion. He stood at the window watching a pack of kids shriek with joy as they flew down his hill on plastic saucers, parents cheering at the bottom like it was the Super Bowl. Karen's voice echoed in his head from that potluck. "Rules keep us safe, Ethan. We all sacrifice a little freedom for the greater good." Greater good. Right. And who'd find Mrs. Alvarez $50 for hanging Christmas lights 2 days early last year. Ethan didn't yell. He simply picked up the phone and dialed Marcus. "Got another HOA fairy tale," he said calmly. "They're banning sledding on my land now." Marcus's laugh crackled through the speaker. "They can't touch your dirt, Ethan." "Yeah, but they've got the road easement by the throat. Conditional."
Silence. Bro. You thinking what I'm thinking?
30-day notice. Unless they apologize in writing, retract the ban, and admit they have zero authority over my property. That's nuclear, man. They can't get home. Ethan watched a little girl in a pink snowsuit belly flop onto her sled and rocket down the slope, giggling the whole way. They'll survive. The letter went out certified mail the next day, every single mailbox. Short, polite, ironclad. Facts. And a deadline. 2 days later, Karen's silver Lexus screeched into his driveway like she was arriving at her own coronation. Yoga pants, cashmere scarf, clipboard in one hand like a royal scepter. She marched up the walk with the practiced smile of someone who'd rehearsed this in the mirror. "Ethan, sweetheart, we really must discuss this ridiculous notice. You're causing quite the panic in the neighborhood." He set down his snow shovel, wiped his hands, and gave her the same calm smile he'd practiced for 3 years. "Did you get the letter, Karen?" "Of course I did." Liability concerns, community standards. Community standards on land you don't own? He tilted his head. "That's adorable. Claiming authority over a private hill visible from your windows. Should we ban Pikes Peak next? Call the National Park Service." Her smile twitched. "For the children, Ethan. Surely you understand." "Funny. I'm pretty safe flying down a hill that's been used for decades without your permission." Almost like fun doesn't require HOA approval. She leaned in, voice dropping to that fake concern whisper she reserved for problem residents. You're really going to trap 85 families because of a little sledding? Think of the optics, dear. The bitter newcomer holding the whole neighborhood hostage. Ethan stepped closer, voice still quiet, almost gentle. No, Karen. To push me. Sledding is just the snowflake on top of the avalanche. You spent 3 years painting me as the villain. Now the paint's dripping off your own hands. She stormed off, gravel spraying like buckshot. Phone calls started that night. Angry, scared, confused. Some neighbors screamed at him. Tom from down the street showed up with 2 beers and a confession. Most of us had no idea she was this unhinged. She told everyone you complained about the kids last winter. Ethan just nodded. The slander he'd endured quietly for years was finally paying interest. Then came the email. Forwarded threat from Karen's own account. 6 months of scheming to absorb his land into the HOA by manufacturing nuisance violations. Fake complaints, even considering eminent domain whispers. If we can make him look like the bad guy long enough. One line from Karen herself. The hill will be ours by spring. Just keep the pressure on. The sender? Tom's wife Jennifer, who'd finally had enough of watching her president play God. The next HOA meeting was pure chaos. Ethan wasn't invited, but Tom live-streamed the audio on speakerphone from inside the community center. Karen's voice cracked as printed emails hit the table like grenades. This is a witch hunt, she shrieked. He's manipulating you all, someone shouted back. You banned sledding on land you don't own, Karen. Who's manipulating who? By the end of the night, the vote was 51 to remove her. President Karen Voss dethroned. The neighborhood erupted in relieved chatter. Kids were back on the hill by morning, laughing louder than ever. But Karen wasn't finished. Spent years polishing her community first. Halo wasn't about to let a little thing like public humiliation slow her down. 3 days later, Ethan found himself named in a lawsuit. Harassment, emotional distress, tortious interference with her duly elected position. Marcus read the filing and actually laughed out loud on the phone. She's suing you for existing on your own property. This is performance art at this point. The graffiti appeared next. Back fence at dawn, tyrant. Bully. Spray painted a crude stick figure of him with devil horns. Sheriff Martinez stopped by, shook his head, and suggested cameras. Ethan installed them the same afternoon, high-def, motion-activated, pointed at every vulnerable spot. 2 nights later, the motion light snapped on at 2:13 a.m. The footage was crystal clear. Hoodie that still somehow looked expensive, gas can in one hand, creeping toward his garage like a discount ninja. She froze when the floodlights hit, face caught in perfect deer in headlights terror. The plate on her Lexus in the background sealed it. Sheriff was at her door before sunrise. Attempted arson. Destruction of property. Hits album of bad decisions. At the courthouse, Karen stood smaller than anyone had ever seen her. Voice shaking as she tried the same honeyed tone that once ruled the HOA. Your Honor, it was a moment of weakness. I only wanted to protect the community. The judge wasn't buying the act. Lives. And then tried to burn down a man's garage when you got caught. This wasn't weakness, Mrs. Settlement with a side of felony. 2 years county jail. Her lawsuit against Ethan dismissed with prejudice. The neighborhood watched the news footage in stunned silence, then slowly started laughing. The kind of laugh that comes when the bully finally trips over her own cape. Jennifer posted the anonymous email thread to the community page with a single caption. Transparency looks good on us. Likes poured in by the hundreds. The new board was sworn in within a week. Real people, no clipboards of terror. Greg, the mild-mannered accountant who'd never wanted the job, sent Ethan a handwritten note. Thank you for reminding us what neighborhood actually means. They trimmed the rule book from 40 pages to 6. No more fines for holiday lights. No more lectures about lawn height. And the hill stayed open forever. Kids sled harder than ever, parents waved at Ethan like he was some kind of winter hero. By summer the wildflowers took over the slope in riots of color. The access road stayed open. Quiet respect that settled over Evergreen Grove like fresh snow. People started leaving cookies on each other's porches again. Block parties felt genuine instead of mandatory. And wouldn't you know it, 2 years later the HOA dissolved entirely. Voluntary association now. Potlucks and porch lights. A president to tell them how to live. Ethan stood on his porch last winter, coffee steaming in the cold air, watching Madison and Sophie, Tom's girls, race down the hill on new sleds, their laughter carrying up the slope like music. They waved at him with mittened hands. He waved back, thinking about everything that had started with one ridiculous letter and ended with handcuffs on the woman who tried to own a hill that was never hers. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to let someone rewrite the rules on your own land. Boundaries aren't cruelty. They're the only thing that lets real community exist. Karen wanted control so badly she lost everything. Ethan just wanted his hill back. Laugh, screaming down that slope free as the wind. And that's the real neighborhood win. Looking back, power doesn't just corrupt, it turns perfectly normal people into walking punchlines. If a clipboard-wielding Karen ever tries to steal your joy in the name of safety, remember Ethan. Stay quiet, stay smart, and when the moment comes, pull the easement out from under them. The laughter you'll hear afterward? That's justice with a side of snow. What battle are you still fighting in silence? Drop it in the comments. Because sometimes the hill isn't just a hill. It's where freedom finally gets to sled. Never let a Karen with a title tell you your own backyard is community property. Stand your ground quietly, document everything, and watch entitlement do the rest. Boundaries protect more than land. They protect the laughter that makes life worth living.